Hey guys, sorry I haven't made a video in a few days. It's been like 3 or 4 days. I think I'm gonna take weekends off, but then yesterday was a whole mess. Jaden was pulling a cup of noodle out of the microwave and I think he overfilled it and he spilled it on his hands and got a 2nd-degree burn. We had to take him to urgent care, and so it was a big old huge mess. Anyways, so I'm back. So the last I left off, I shared a little bit about my life and what I did. I was nannying, and then I had moved home. My sister was having kids, and then when I was a nanny, because I was always nannying in other parts of the country, I was always in areas that I didn't know anybody. So I started joining dating apps. A friend of mine suggested it. She was like, have you met anybody? And I was like, no, because I don't ever go anywhere without the kids that I have. And so people just assume I have children, but they're never my children, you know? And so she goes, you should try a dating app. And I was like, you know what? That's a really great idea. So I started using dating apps. Well, when I quit nannying and when I finally decided, okay, I'm done with the whole nanny game, my sister and her husband and her 2 kids had moved to Bakersfield because we were living in Bodfish, and then I had left living with them for a little bit, and I was nannying in Newport Beach. Oh my gosh, my hair is a total mess. Sorry. But anyways, to make a long story even longer, we were living in Bakersfield. I got a job with Kirby, and that was like door-to-door sales. I always ended up at a house where I would sell one, but they would never qualify. So I wasn't making any money because I opted to get the commission. Because I was like, I'll be pissed if I opt to get a weekly check and then I end up selling a bunch of them and I'm out all that money I could have gotten. Well, I never made any money. So I ended up looking for another job, and Food Max called me, and I started working at Food Max. Well, I think I pushed carts. I was a clerk's helper for about a month, and then they had cashiering opened up. You had to take a test to do that. So I studied, because it was like in the dead of summer, and I was outside pushing carts. It was so hot. And so I passed the test. I started cashiering, and then actually, when I was working at Kirby, I had just started talking to Mario. I was a part of a dating site called Yahoo Personals, I think it was. It was like a Yahoo dating site, I think. Or it was Match.com. I can't remember now. So the way it works is, like, you could have a free membership and see all these people that you match with in your area or whatever. Well, I had a free membership because I was broke as a joke. So Mario had seen my profile and saw my picture, and he thought, oh, she's cute. So he sent me, you could send flirts to people, like it's like a already written out sentence, and that would show your interest. Well, he sent me one, so I sent him one back. So when he saw that I was interested, he got a paid membership. But you have like, it was like so long where you can cancel it. So as soon as he emailed me, and then he said, hey, this is my email address, email me. And I was like, okay, so I emailed him back real quick, so he canceled his membership. So we start talking online, like in a chat room. Not a chat room, like a chat. We're chatting online. We never spoke on the phone. We had never seen each other. We're just talking, getting to know each other. And then a little bit had gone by, and he had finally asked to call me. And so at the time, I didn't have a cell phone, so I had to give him my sister's cell phone number. So I said, the only time, you can call me is like I can't even remember if nights and weekends was a thing then. Could have been. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But I was like, just call me during these times because this is when I'll be home, yada, yada, yada. So we would talk on the phone constantly when I wasn't at work. So I kept saying, well, do you want to meet? And like a month had passed, 2 months passed, and he would always give me the runaround. And I'm getting to an age where it's like, okay, you either need to do something or I need to move on. I'm getting to an age where I want children. So I finally told him, I said, hey, let's just meet. If we don't like each other, we can just be friends if we don't like each other like that. But if we do, then, it gives the possibility for this to go further, to move into the next step. It's been 3 months, dude. Come on. So he's like, okay. So I'm really nervous. And we go to Sonic. And the only thing we did is our first date was we sat at Sonic at those benches outside and we had a drink. That's it. I think I drank iced tea. So we sat there and we talked forever. I mean, just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. And then he took me home. And then, and then it just progressed from there. We started seeing each other more often. So the time frame from the time we actually physically met to the time we walked down the aisle was almost 1 year. I physically met him a week before my birthday in 2007. And then we walked down the aisle November 1st of 2008. So our courtship went very quickly. Mario proposed to me in the most lame way possible. It was awful. Like, to this day, I think that's why he upgraded my wedding ring. Well, that and another thing. But, it's not something that I'm gonna, I'm like, oh, you gotta hear the way Mario proposed to me. He told, my sister Jessica was at, cause I lived in a townhouse with my sister, her husband, and her 2 kids. And my sister Jessica was over and I was getting ready to drive her back up to Lake Isabella. I didn't have to work that day. So Mario goes, can you come over for a minute? And I said, no, I gotta go. I gotta take my sister up. He goes, just for a minute. It'll only take a second. And I said, okay, it's gotta be fast. So I come over and he hands me a gift bag from Kay Jewelers. And I was like, oh, he must have bought me a necklace or something. Because when Mario and I were dating, he used to shower me with gifts. Flowers all the time, just presents all the time. That all disappeared when we got married. Ugh. But anyways, so I was like, oh, cool. And I opened it up and then there's like a little box in there and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what it is. So I opened the box, or no. I'm remembering this totally wrong. No. I pulled, the bag was little. It was only one of those little small bags and it had black tissue paper in the top. The bag was gold and the tissue paper was black. So I pull the tissue paper out and there's a video game in there for an Xbox. And I'm like, what the hell? I don't even have an Xbox player. And I'm like, thanks. And I open the case and it's empty. I'm like, you gave me, I said, I gotta go to Lake Isabella. What? This is so stupid. What is this? And I went to get up. I was pissed. And I went to get up and he's like, oh, okay, since you've been so good, here. And then he hands me the ring box. Looking back on it, I should have been like, you know what, motherfucker? No, I'm not going to say it. Take this and do better. Ask better. But I didn't. I was stupid and I wanted to get married so bad. And I loved him. I mean, I do love him. So I took the ring and I was so excited and I said, thank you. And I said, I don't know why you couldn't wait till I had gotten back tonight to do this and done it in a better way, but I've got to go now. So I ended up leaving. So anyways, that's the story about how Mario the lame story about how he asked me to marry him. Oh my gosh, that man. So Mario and I were married in November. And then that, I want to say January or February, Mario and I got into a huge fight. When I say huge, I say I'm packing my bags, I'm walking out the door, I'm talking about an annulment. Maybe we can get this marriage annulled. We haven't been married that long. This was a huge mistake. And it was over something very stupid and asinine. It was my fault. So at the time, I had a Saturn. And I went to go get in my car. And I hadn't driven it in a while. So I didn't realize it was out of gas. So I went back in the house. I didn't have any cash on me. And I went back in the house to tell him, hey, give me some cash, mother effer, because I don't have any gas money. Well, I found him crying at the end of the bed. And it just broke my heart. I felt so bad. I immediately started crying. I felt horrible for putting him in that position. And kind of when the dust settled, he goes, do you think you're pregnant? And I was like, no way. Because by this point, I have gained all that weight. I'll tell you that story right after I tell you the story of how I found out I was pregnant with Jaden. So I was like, no way. Because we had been having unprotected sex, thinking I couldn't get pregnant because I just wasn't. So he went to the store and bought 2 different kinds of pregnancy tests. Take the first one, it's positive. No way, it's broken, it's not right. I took another one. Okay, it's because it's this brand. Let me take this one. Take another one. Come on. And I take the second one out of the second box and it's still positive. I mean, I was floored. I could not believe I was actually pregnant. Like, really? This happened to me? This can't be real. I was like, it was the best day. I mean, like, oh my gosh. It was like a horrible day and then the best day all rolled into one. It was so great. But anyways, going back. So I've always been a little kind of on the pudgy side. I've never been thin. I mean, when I was a kid, I was, but I've never been like the skinny friend. I've always been the chubby friend. So, but saying that, I was still, when I was a clerk's helper, I was still pushing carts out in the hot heat. I was still running for price checks. I was still standing on my feet for 8 hours a day, sometimes longer if I had to cover for somebody and pull a double. I could still squat down. I could get on my hands and knees. I could sit on the ground. I could do a lot. And then I started working at Food Max. And I noticed that I started feeling really awful. And this is when it's going to kind of get a little bit graphic. I started my period. Typically, my period would last, back then, before kids, my period would last anywhere from 4 to 5 days. I'm going on 10 days now, and it's not stopping. It keeps coming and coming, and it's heavy and heavy and heavy. And I'm starting to feel worse and worse and worse. And I had like a 3-day window where I was off, so I was just home, just in bed sleeping all day. And then I just felt horrible, just lousy. I can't even compare it to anything else because I've never felt like that before in my life. So my sister says, you look really pale. There's something wrong with you. So I called my mom and I told my mom, I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I am so pale, and I didn't tell her the period part. My mom's a nurse, by the way. So anything medical, I always call my mom first, get her opinion first. So she says, it sounds like your iron is low. You need to eat stuff with a lot of iron in it, like peanut butter, liver. I know you don't like it. So at the time, I hated peanut butter, but I choked down a peanut butter sandwich. My brother-in-law ran to the store and got me liver, and I cooked it and I choked it down. And I kind of felt a little better, but I went to bed and I woke up this morning and the next morning I felt like garbage again. I just felt horrible. And my sister goes, "Oh, we need to take you in." And the whole reason I wasn't going in is because I had no insurance at this point yet. So my sister takes me to KMC. I go into KMC and in walks the most gorgeous doctor I've ever seen in my entire life. He looked like, I thought I was on a movie set. He was, gorgeous. And my sister is cracking up. And so he says he's got to do a pelvic. And I said, "I'm on my period." And he goes, "Don't worry, I've seen it all. You're fine." I'm so embarrassed. So then, we're there all night. So then another doctor comes in and starts asking me if I had been out of the country. Just all these questions. And I'm like, no. So he goes, "I'm surprised you're not dead." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Your platelets are unbelievably low." So like your white blood platelet count is normal anywhere from the range of like 115, 110 to like 100 and don't quote me on it, I want to say like 180 or 190. My platelets were like below 30. And he goes, "I'm surprised you haven't passed out. If you were to hit your head right now, it would kill you instantly." He said, "I'm surprised you haven't passed out and fallen and died." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "Why did you wait so long to come to the hospital?" And I said, "Because I have no insurance." And so, well, it turned out I did have insurance. I just didn't know. So anyways, going back. So they give me a blood transfusion. Oh my God. It helped. It pulled me from whatever was going on with me. I felt instantly good after that transfusion. I felt amazing. So the doctors, they can't figure out what's wrong with me. So I go home, back to work, back to normal life. I'm feeling great. My period stopped. Back to normal. Then the next month rolls around and I start getting sick again. And my period starts and it doesn't want to stop again. So this time I'm not taking any chances. I go to the emergency room right away. So they get me in and they give me another transfusion. Go home, I'm feeling great. So I go home that night and then I get up the next morning, I go to work, and while I'm at work, I almost passed out. I felt horrible. So my sister had to come get me from work and take me to the emergency room. So my platelets had plummeted within 24 hours because I had just had a transfusion the day before. So they had dropped again. So the doctor said, so that's when I was diagnosed with the blood disorder. It's called ITP, idiopathic, I can't even say it. It's like this really long word. The short term is ITP. It's where my white blood platelets don't, what's the word? You know, like when you get cut and you just bleed and your body sends a signal, your blood platelets start clotting. Thank you, clotting. And it stops you from bleeding out. In small superficial cuts. So that's why my period wasn't stopping. It was just keep going and going and going and going. So the doctor said that's the problem. So the course of action is we either remove your spleen and that will fix it. You shouldn't have a problem with it again, or we can put you on this medication called prednisone. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, prednisone is the reason I am as big as I am. So they said, we don't really recommend surgery for your size. I weighed maybe 250 pounds. And they didn't want to do surgery on me. I'm like, okay. They said it's dangerous to do surgery on larger people. I wish I would have had a better doctor instead of going to KMC. It really, anyways, I mean, it's over with now. So they put me on prednisone. Nobody explained to me what the side effects were. I was never told any kind of side effects. So side effects are mood change, bone loss, cataracts, weight gain. And it does something to your skin. It's like makes your skin almost hard. It's weird. So I ended up ballooning to 400 pounds. Yep, 400 pounds. Mario stuck with me. He never left me. He was there. He married me at my heaviest. I was actually still on prednisone when we got married. So there's a side effect when you're taking it. It's called moon face, and your face is just round and fat and puffy. I mean, if I showed you a wedding picture, I have an album in my Facebook page that has my wedding pictures in it. I didn't post any of the ones that I'm in because I hated the way I looked. So, he still married me. He still loves me. He didn't care that I had put on all that weight. So then I ended up getting pregnant with Jaden at 400 pounds. I couldn't believe it. So I got pregnant with Jaden, had him, and then I ended up having to have a C-section because of my ITP. I can't have a needle. It's dangerous to put a needle into my spine. So I had Jaden. Then I wanted to have gastric surgery. So I went to go have it, and I started the process. I was probably 3 months in, and I got pregnant with Marina. So I had to quit. I ended up having Marina, and then after I had Marina, probably I had Marina in 2012. So November of 2012. So like the tail end of 2013 is when I had my next gastric surgery. As soon as they told me I could start the process, because I told them it's going to take 6 months for the surgery anyways, I will be healed from the C-section. So I started the process. So I had gastric surgery. I had a gastric sleeve in 2013, probably the end or the beginning of 2014. No, I want to say it's so anyways, I ended up losing 100 pounds very quickly. I started feeling great, looking better, feeling better about myself, and then I got pregnant with Desi. So I'm still looking great. I'm not gaining any weight. I'm still going to the gym every day. But then the further along I got my pregnancy, I just did not have the energy to go to the gym anymore because I had to come home and take care of 2 small kids after that. It was just, I started getting tired, I was still carrying more weight. Even though I'd lost 100 pounds, I was still fat. People don't understand when you're that fat, you can lose that astronomical amount of weight and still be fat. I'm that kind of fat. So, and when I say fat, I don't give the word fat the power that some people give it. It holds no power over me. So when I say fat, I'm not putting myself down. I'm describing what my body is. Not what I am, what my body is. My body is fat. So anyways, I had Desi in July of 2015. So then after I had her, I had to wait to heal from my C-section to start working out again. But in the end of September of that year, I ended up getting valley fever. And for anyone that's ever had valley fever, it completely knocked me on my rear. It was awful. I mean, it was awful. I ended up in I ended up having to get one of my lungs drained. I mean, it was horrible. And then my husband was laid off of his job that he was at for almost 20 years that November. So we had to pull all the money out of his 401k or we would have lost everything, the house, the cars, everything. And then I was diagnosed with bipolar depression and anxiety. And then they started medicating me. And I just slept. I would get up, eat, go back to bed. Mario wasn't working at the time, so I could sleep all day. Get up, back to bed, up, back to bed. And so I slowly started putting the weight back on. I wasn't active anymore. I was sleeping all day. The only time I would get out of bed was to eat. And now I have completely put on the weight again. I'm right back where I started. I feel like such a failure, but I'm not going to let that stop me. So I'm in the works to get a revision done on my surgery. So I have an appointment next month to talk to the surgeon. It's a new surgeon. My first surgery was done in Fresno, and with 3 kids and my husband and it's just too hard to travel that far every month because you have to have like 6 months of these classes that you have to take. And I don't know how the revision part works, but if it's the same as the very first time you have a surgery, I just can't do that every month. So I'm having it done here in Bakersfield this time. So I'm going to have a revision. I've been having all these tests. I went to a test on Friday. I had to have a stress test done at Memorial Hospital. They put these drugs in me, and then they put me under this machine that took a bunch of pictures of my heart. And then I went to this room, and then they injected this thing in me to speed up my heart rate to see how my body handles the stress. And I felt like I was gonna pass out. But anyways, and then I had to go sit in the waiting room and wait for another hour, and then I go back in and lay on this table, and they take more pictures of me after. So that was like one of the tests. I've had a sleep apnea test that wasn't, the test didn't go good because they couldn't get a good reading of my sleep apnea because I couldn't fall deep into a sleep because I'm sleeping on a tiny bed. And I require a ton of pillows around me to sleep comfortably. So I got to have another one of those. But I have an appointment next month with a surgeon to talk about a revision surgery. So I wanted to deal with my mental health before I went and had another revision because I had the first surgery. It costed me a lot of money to have that because even though I have insurance doesn't cover everything. I have a deductible and a copayment for everything. So I feel like I've wasted a lot of money because I'm right back in the same boat I am now. The difference is I'm older, so everything is starting to catch up with me. You know, luckily, even though I'm carrying this much weight, I don't have any of the problems now, but I know it's only a matter of time. I don't have all those problems that are associated with being obese. I don't have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, I don't have diabetes, I don't have all those stuff. But in the last year and a half or so, my joints have started hurting. So like and my back hurts all the time. I cannot stand for very long because my back is just, it excruciating hurts. So if you invite me somewhere and it requires me to stand or walk for too long, I'm not coming because I just can't. So I'm in the works of doing that, and hopefully it will be done soon because, so what I'm doing now for my mental health is I stopped taking medication because the medication was making me feel awful. I hated the way it made me feel. Like it was fixing one problem but causing another. And so now I treat my problems with CBD oil. If it gets really bad, I see a therapist, and I'm dealing with it. I'm doing great. It's helped tremendously. So I didn't want to go down that road again until I fixed what was wrong up here, so that this didn't happen again. It didn't backfire on me, and I ended up wasting a ton of money again. I just want to be successful. I want to be the mother that I always dreamed of being. And I'm just not that mother. I never have been because my body holds me back from the things I want to do. So, with that said, thank you for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow. Love the people you love the most. Give them a great big hug. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.